All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to today's stream. I quickly wait for a few people to come in. Do me a favor, say hi in the chat. I'm seeing the first people come in. Hey, hi. Hello. I hope you all have a great day. All right. Is LinkedIn working? Yes, LinkedIn is also working. So, hi, everybody. Today, it's Hangout Day. I was thinking of joining today and answering your questions, everything that you have on your mind towards data, towards engineering, where you might think an engineer can help. I have my phone here because I want to go through questions that everybody asks. So, hey, John. Hello. Hello, Mateusz. Hi. Cool. I see people are coming in. So, again, let me know your questions in the chat. If you're on YouTube, on the right. If you're on LinkedIn, just type it in the chat. Kushal, hey, hello. Yeah. Hi, Paolo. Okay, people are coming in. Cool. Yeah. Again, let me know your questions in the chat. I have my Instagram here, and because on Instagram I'm from time to time, I should do it more. I know. I have the Instagram channel Learn Data Engineering, and on this channel, I usually ask or put out there, ask me anything, and people ask me stuff, and I want to go through stuff that people ask me all the time. And yeah, hi Ravi, Sai, hello, Viren, nice to be here, nice to have you. So let me know your questions in the chat. This is a hangout again. This is not like I prepared a lot of stuff for this, and we're not going to do a deep dive presentation or something. It's just, I think, the interesting things that come up all the time. And yeah. Mateusz, first question here. Is it good practice on cloud project to always start from Terraform or put this at the end? I think we had this yesterday, actually, Terraform as a topic. Somebody mentioned it there as well. It depends on what you're doing or what you're aiming for. If companies are using this a lot. For me, this would be one tool of many, and I would first try to use tools that are out there on AWS, on Azure, or on GCP, and not go down the road where you focus immediately on a single tool like Terraform. So, because there are a lot of tools you can use except that, or interchange with that. Doing some ETL work, getting some data from a source, processing it, transforming it, and putting it somewhere. Of course, that is something that I would say that's something an engineer should be able to do, and so it's a good starting point. Yeah, it's a good starting point. ETL tools really important. As I said, it depends. The thing is, these tools are important, but it's difficult to select a single one and do this. I would, as I said, I would try to go to the cloud and try to start with the cloud and the tools the cloud offers, and then let's see, then maybe. But yeah. On the other side, if you're really interested in it, give it a go. It's always helpful that you start something new and try stuff out. So, a lot of people coming in. Adnan, hi. How ChatGPT again? How ChatGPT going to impact? How is it going to impact data engineering? I don't know. I don't know, because the thing is, most stuff we do as engineers is more complicated. So it's not as simple that ChatGPT could change that. I don't see a lot of impact of ChatGPT for engineers. Maybe documentation could be, but so I don't know. Maybe some of you see that. I don't see it. I think it's a great helper. I use it a lot for getting ideas, or if I research a topic. And just today I'm creating my second course for LinkedIn. It's going to be a problem solving course, and KPIs are one of the topics in there I want to cover. Setting good KPIs, because that's a huge problem for engineers, or for most people, because they set terrible KPIs and then the whole project is going to be a disaster because nobody can track it, and the goals are not aligned. So I was using ChatGPT and just trying to get ideas. What does ChatGPT know of this topic, and how could I incorporate that with my experience from my work days? And I think that's where ChatGPT actually shines. I like it a lot for engineers. Shahan. It's my first time joining your live sessions. What big data technologies do you use? So I mainly, when I started out with engineering, I mainly was working on a Hadoop platform with Spark on top and Kafka and so on. Then in the last years, I moved towards AWS and did a lot of stuff on AWS, and also created courses for AWS. And now I'm here and there. For me, it's interesting to learn new topics, to learn new technologies. I'm no longer in the workforce, so I'm full in training and try to train people on all kinds of technologies that are relevant today, like on the 3 cloud platforms, or Kafka, Spark, Airflow, Databricks, Snowflake, and so on and so on. But it's not really a main thing. But I'm coming from because I'm doing it for so long, I'm coming from the traditional Hadoop and Hadoop plus Spark and Kafka world. Hey, hello to Abu Dhabi. Could you send your Instagram? So the Instagram is, just Google, just search on Instagram, Learn Data Engineering. It's, can I show this here somehow? Let me see. I actually don't know, because I'm on my streaming PC. No, I don't know. Can I hear a search here? Here. Let me show you. That's my Instagram. I copy over like memes and stuff, but I also, as I said, I'm doing Q&As where I ask. We can't look at it because I need to log in. Where I ask questions and then answer them, and I have made some selections here for Q&As and my answers. So that Learn Data Engineering, you can follow that. I also have a personal one, but I'm not really using that. Yeah. So, Murbury. I've completed my master's in big data and business analytics. Nice. Because of personal reasons, I did not work for 2 years, so that means I have a gap of 2 years. Oh, it's not. Well, people. What's wrong with the camera? The thing is, people always talk like this is a big problem, and so much stuff has happened since then. Does it? Does it really? I want to know how I can start my path to data engineering again. How can I fill the gap? So the thing is, okay, good job. What has happened or what is missing depends on what have you learned there. Have you learned on Hadoop? Most likely not, because for 2 years ago. So are you fit in at least one cloud platform? Then most likely not a lot of stuff has happened. And focus on that, what you've learned. So maybe add a few more pieces of information here, Kajal, so I can get a bit of an overview of what's your experience right now. That would be cool. Do you think to be excellent? What? Be excellent data engineer is required to work as a data analyst? No. No. Yes, there is a certain, what's that called of in English? Intersection between engineering and analytics. But a lot of the times the engineers have a bit of a different job. And so basically integrating data, transforming the data, putting it in so that the analyst then can work with it. I think it's not really a necessity. It's helpful a lot, very helpful, although. Because also in my academy, I have a lot of students who have been analysts and make that transition to engineering. The upside is you know how to work then with data warehouses and so on, or you know how to translate business problems into queries or into data structures or or data models, because okay, we have that problem. This is how my data looks and this is how I'm going to query it. So that's absolutely an upside if you're an analyst. If you would just be an engineer who says, okay, what should be my end structure and then does it? Yes, it's not easy, but it's actually something, that whole topic of analytics and engineers. The past few days I did that. I don't know if you have seen it last week. I did that interview with Taylor from Rivery, and she was mentioning, where does data engineering go, and in not this year but in the long run. And she brought up the analytics engineer, that not where the job is not starting at getting the data in and ending with dropping it into a warehouse or something, but doing the additional step, then preparing the data in the warehouse so that the analyst can immediately work with the data. And that really got me thinking, and it stayed on my mind, and I'm still thinking about that. Where's this going to go? And for analytics and engineers, or somebody who has come out of a data analyst job, that's very good, because you already know that part. So the problem is I don't know that much about data analysts. I've never been a data analyst, never worked as a data analyst. I know which tools they're working with and roughly what they're doing. But isn't it an interesting topic to think about and to figure out? Like, is this going to come down the road and be important for us? Especially if we think about automation. Somebody mentioned ChatGPT. Like, maybe not ChatGPT, but automation. I see automation coming, and it's already here to implement or integrate the standard data sources. So. How do you see Databricks in the Databricks future? Is it going to be one of the most popular ones? Yeah. I think Databricks is is positioned really, really good as a platform, how easy it is to set up and how easy it is to use, the features that they have. So I think Databricks is here to stay. It's powered by Spark, so it's capable of processing large amounts of data very quickly. You can use data from data lakes, and because it's Spark at its core, that integration is really strong and very fast. So Databricks is going nowhere. Databricks is absolutely safe for the next years, as far as I can see it. Other than, for instance, stuff that is based on Hadoop, because I mentioned Hadoop. When it was, I remember when it was Cloudera, Hortonworks, and MapR, it was almost clear that Cloudera is going to be the one that comes out of top and the others are going bye-bye. But that change now, it changed a lot. Which data warehouse tool is good and why? That's a very difficult question. So I generally cannot answer this because everything has its upsides, has its downsides. That's something I would Google, and I would then talk to vendors and try to figure out which one is the right solution for my problem. Like, is it certain features that I need? Is it ease of use, or what is it? So you can't generally say which one is a good tool. There are good tools, of course. There's you can use Databricks for that. Snowflake, BigQuery is very strong. A lot of people are working on Google BigQuery. Azure Synapse, very good, and also Redshift on AWS. It's all good tools. You almost cannot go wrong. It's the individual features or the pricing, the maintenance, and so on. That's where it comes to making that determination or the shift. Where were I with the questions here? What do you use as a baseline for determining when somebody should apply for a data engineering role? Certification, projects, years of study. So I think certifications are good, but certifications are not the main factor for determining if you're job ready. The thing when you should apply is, first of all, you're very interested in doing that kind of back-end work, of engineering work. You have some experience with the tools that are required for that. And as I said, you don't need to learn every tool, but have it on one platform and maybe some open source things added to it. And then if you know the tools and if you have built some pipelines and you like it, then you're ready for a data engineer job. I mean, you don't need to start with an entry job and find out if that's something for you. I think that's the main thing, Jacob. I don't know. Do you have something specific in mind? I don't know. To be excellent data engineer, we had that before. Could you tell me what are the main roles of a data engineer according to you? Hi, Stella. That is a good question. And there are actually, when I think about it, there are a few different types of engineers. The main two types of engineers, and that depends on where you're working. So you could be an engineer who is working at a larger company where the systems are already there and there are projects, and these projects are using the systems, where you have a new use case where data is streaming in from one tool, and somebody on the other side needs to analyze the data and come up with it and show something to the customers and so on, and where you build the pipelines, build the data transformations of getting data in, transforming it, putting it somewhere, transforming it depending on ETL or ELT, but forget about that. So you're taking data, you're somehow transforming it, and you're putting it somewhere. That is one thing, one way of doing it, where you work on a platform that is all there and you're just a small cog in the machine, where you're one of a lot of people who are on that platform and doing all kind of stuff. The other part of engineers is you have something completely new and you're building up the whole platform. Maybe not the architecture part, because you have an architect, and that architect is helping with figuring out which tools to use and for what. But as an engineer, you are there, you're building the whole thing, you're starting out, making this new thing a success and setting up that platform. That's the second option, I think, that you see a lot. I'm coming from the second option. I'm coming from building something new, building a new platform, and building new and using new. Well, it was actually a combination of that. But let's not get too much. So these two things are the main scenarios where engineers are working. Now, as I said, most likely you need to integrate some kind of a data source or multiple data sources, bring the data in, prepare it for the analysis, or prepare it for the destination. You have a data warehouse, and you need to figure out, okay, how can what is the data structure going to be there? And then you're going to put it there. So that's a lot of things that we do. Wow, the comments are going fast here. Why are some people writing their own APIs from data sources and pushing into storage instead of just ingesting the data? I'm not 100% sure what you mean by that. So the thing is, APIs are a great way and are very, very useful. I would build as much or work as much with APIs as possible. The problem is, or the thing is, most likely a data source, you don't want to integrate that 15 times. So you need at the data source an API, so you can offer that API also to your colleagues or to somebody who wants to use that API. Sometimes it's a security thing where your processing is not allowed to access that data source, and that's why you need to have that detour of going through an API. Because you have two different, let's say you have a large corporation and there are two different projects or how to say this in English? Basically, two different parts of the company, and you're not allowed to directly connect to the data source because you have no rights for it. And then what the provider would do is actually build an API in front of that and then have you query that API. Same thing for external systems. Same thing if you want to build something internally, it's best to start with APIs and incorporate APIs and not just do the same thing twice or 3 times or 4 times, which can be really, really annoying. Let me see if No, the question from before, she didn't write more. Kajal didn't write more. So does that make sense? What is this stream about? Questions and answers. I think the most interesting thing is for people to get educated about a topic, because yes, you can read a lot online, but it's very seldom you can actually ask questions. And so that's why I do these streams, to be your guide here. Compensation for a data engineer. That's a good question, Manny. How should I say this? Usually, so if you compare it with scientists, usually engineers are lower, or very often engineers are lower. But it depends on the company that you're joining. It depends also on the size of the company and the location, right? Is it a startup? Is it a large corporation? Is it in the US or is it in Germany? In Europe, it's usually lower. We don't have that much, so it's most likely 70,000-80,000 euros, I'm guessing, for a good engineer. I would hope that it's more, but in the US, it's going crazy. Like, in the US, should be over 100,000 plus. Maybe not as a junior, right? But as a good engineer, good engineers are needed. I find it usually that these jobs that are more back end, that are not as visible to others, are not as much appreciated, which I hate that. It's super annoying. You need these jobs a lot, but yeah. Compensation. So one thing that you could do is you could go, let me show you something. How was that? Levels.fyi here. You could go to levels.fyi, and here you have a lot of compensation, and you could do here, I don't know if they have, yeah, they have for data engineer. It's under software engineer salary, right? But that's how you could see, okay, median total compensation 172, but I'm guessing that's very San Antonio, Dallas, Texas, Charlotte, North Carolina, and so on. So it's not in Europe. But this levels.fyi is very interesting, because you could go here and you could look at software engineer salaries and then the individual companies. Also, like, you could search here for, like, what's that? Blizzard Entertainment. Very interesting. Associate software engineer 1. Then you would see, okay, salary 145,000. No, so these levels.fyi, I think that's a very interesting platform to actually check that out. What global problems data engineering can data engineering solve? What do you mean global problems? Like world hunger and so on? I'm not sure. Sana, what do you mean? What do you mean by that? I mean, generally, everything that has something to do with data, a larger amounts of data, that's where engineering can help a lot. That's where we're here to help. That's also, what was the question? Where was that? I lost my train of thought again. Happens. Azure data engineer versus AWS data engineer. What do you say? It's both good. It's both good. Both absolutely fine. Azure is coming up. I see Azure gaining on AWS because it's so tightly knit into larger corporations that are already on Microsoft infrastructure and Microsoft systems. I see Azure is actually, it's a good idea to go get into Azure here. So it's both perfectly fine. Jesse, if you were hiring I'm guessing a middle data engineer, what would be deal breakers for you when doing the technical interview? So for me, the thing is, people too often think about coding and so on in technical interviews. The thing is, when are you going to fail technical interviews? Most likely you're going to fail technical interviews when you of course, when you have standard coding tests, yes, which can be annoying. But otherwise, when you're at the point you have a technical interview and you're talking to people, you most likely are going to fail because you don't know the technologies that they are using, and they need somebody who is already up to speed and already knows these tools in and out. That's most likely when you're going to fail, and when people expect that you have that knowledge in AWS, although you've coming from the Azure train and you're very good in Azure. You can make that switch, but if you interview for a company who needs AWS help right now, an expert right now, you are going to fail this, and I would not hire you. So think of the person who is hiring you. Is this a junior role where it's okay, they need help and they can afford to teach you? Or is this a role where they need an expert now, you are not the expert for this, they can't afford to teach you half a year, you're going to fail this. That's completely normal. I would not hire somebody like that. I would not hire an Azure engineer when I need an AWS expert or an AWS engineer tomorrow for my projects. Is it possible to get a job after a 6-year gap? That's very difficult. What did you do? Sorry. What did you do before that 6 years? That's the question. What did you do before those 6 years? Because that's a long time. A lot have changed since that. So, very difficult. Very difficult. What things are motivate me to become a data engineer? The thing was, so for me, the thing was, I did not train to become a data engineer, and I did not want to become a data engineer. I'm coming from the software development, from the engineering side, and I always loved to build stuff. That was always my thing. I like to build stuff, and that's why I got into the engineering sector. And how I got into data engineering, although it wasn't named data engineering back then, and at some point it was big data. But I actually had a problem. I was hired for a project, and I wanted to do that project. And the problem with this was with normal technologies that I had learned at school back in the days, like relational databases, like normal Java code and so on. That actually was the main goals, relational databases. and normal processing, like simple pipelines with Java. That was not possible, and that's why I actually back then was searching for tools. What tools, what technologies could help there, processing these immense amounts of data, storing that immense amount of data. And so back in the day, I found Hadoop and I went for it. And that's how I got into that whole thing. And now 10 years later, over 10 years, that's where I am right now. Nestor asks, is it a good practice to keep historical data in files, let's say OCR format files? Absolutely. If you can afford it, absolutely. So I hate it when people throw away data. If it's absolute data that you know you will never use again, then throw it away. It doesn't matter, because you know the data was messed up anyways before, or then you most likely can't throw it away or store it on a drive somewhere. But generally, when I would build systems today, I would build systems that can store the data forever, and try to aim for that, because you never know what to use it for in the future. And yeah, these files like OCR or Parquet, they're not using that large amount of space. So put it on a data lake and forget about it if you can afford it. Yeah, it's a good practice. Do you have any code available on GitHub that provide me an insight of transformation with PySpark? Is it possible? Okay, right now I only have that for my academy, where I teach people in my academy Spark and then work on Databricks and so on. So right now I don't have any public source codes for that. I'm sorry. Yes, 12 to 18 years, people often don't have jobs. What do you mean? What do you mean? Are you kidding here? You mean 18 years old? I don't get it. I had a 19-year gap when I got hired at 20 years old. Yeah, OCR, of course. Org, not ORC, not OCR. I was also, you see, I'm also not, how should I say this? I'm terrible with these abbreviations. OCR, ORC. Yesterday's people were putting a bunch of letters in there, and I was like, I'm terrible with that. If anyone expert in programming and also software developing, can anyone work with you? What do you mean? With me? No, not right now. I see Go and Rust increasingly used in data engineering. What are your thoughts on that? The thing is, I know people love that. I know people like to, and especially, I think especially Go and Rust. I read this all the time. GCP people love Go, but I mean, this is more of a thing for if you're interested in it, learn it. For me right now, I would focus on Python right now, getting really good at Python, because all the tools move towards Python. And why are they moving towards Python? They're moving towards Python because not only engineers are working with the tools, but also software developers, data scientists who work in Python all the time. And that's why I see Python as the gold standard right now. The other things are, if you're interested in it and if you want to learn it, go for it. That's my view right now with this. which one is good, Spark with Scala or Spark with Python? I would go with Python right now. I know there might be features that you can only do in Scala, and people have legacy stuff in Scala, but the Python API is getting better and better and better, and it's so strong with data frames. We had problems back in the days. We had problems at work trying to figure it out with Scala. It's absolutely annoying. You are going to go crazy, and it's in Python it's a 3-liner or 2-liner. So I would go for Spark right now. I would go for Python because I think that's the future. I was learning about I2C protocol, which is used in embedded programming, and I kept getting it backwards and saying IC2 because I kept thinking of EC2. Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. So please clarify, data migration also responsible for data engineers? Yeah, absolutely. Like migrate data from AWS MySQL. I'm sorry, I need to SQL to Azure MySQL. Whatever is needed. That's the job of an engineer. Whatever is needed. If that's the job you need to do, that is the job you're going to do. Migrating data from old relational databases onto a NoSQL database. Migrating data from an old SQL database onto a data warehouse where it's going to be analyzed later. That if that's your job as an engineer, you are going to do it, and it's highly likely that you're going to do it. And that's actually what I like so much about engineering is it's so versatile, and you can do so many things with one job. You don't have to become an expert in everything, but you're going to see that because it's because the patterns are always the same, you're going to see that it's not that difficult to move from one tool to the other and stuff functioning the same way. And yeah, so that I think that's a big plus. And data migration, absolutely, that's a thing. Why would a company interview someone strong in Azure data engineering when they want AWS data engineering expert, as you were noting in your answer? That's a good point. The thing is, let me think about this. So when would you interview someone like that? You would interview someone like that if there are not many applicants to a role, which for smaller companies that might be difficult to actually get someone, right? As we mentioned before, smaller companies are not going to pay you the Airbnb level of $200,000-$300,000. They're going to pay you less. It's also going to be a nice job and an engineer's job, but it's not going to be as hot as one of the big tech companies. So that's actually where people are struggling within smaller companies. So that's why you might actually interview someone who is not that experienced. That's one of the things that I can see. I don't know if the question has been asked yet, but have you made any observations about the job market for data engineers as large tech companies are making layoffs? I haven't looked. We were talking about this yesterday, where somebody said for engineers, it's still here. They were saying, I don't remember who it was, they were saying like, for scientists, it's getting more difficult than for engineers. I can also see this logically, because engineers you need most likely earlier than scientists. You need to figure out the engineering, or you need more than scientists, because there are a lot of jobs that require an engineer and not a scientist in the long run. Like the engineer, the data needs to flow from point A to point B and needs to be transformed and tested and everything. And then an analyst takes over and not a scientist. So that's something that I can see where engineering is actually, I wouldn't call it safe, but I think the outlook might be better. But the actual status of how it is right now, I don't know. I don't know if somebody has an insight on that. This year, although, anyway, this, wait a second. So this year, it's going to be a difficult year, I think. Either way. This year is the way of, is the year of trying to upskill yourself, trying to, hopefully you have your job, you keep your job, but nevertheless try to learn new stuff, try to make yourself more valuable so that if you lose your job, you're going to find a new one because you have such broad knowledge and you know a lot of tools and you can work in a lot of roles as an engineer. I think that is the main thing that this year, not just because I run an academy and I teach engineering and that's basically how I earn money, but generally I don't care where you're getting that information from, where you're getting that teaching from, or that knowledge. I think that is the main thing for this year that people should focus on because times are rough. As you said, the jobs either, especially in large tech companies, they are not safe. So try to position yourself. Get yourself in a strong position this year because it's dangerous out there. It's dangerous out there, folks. In 2023, do you think engineers would get a chance to work on projects from scratch if they got for MNCs? MNCs, I have no idea. Or is only taking care of already built infrastructure? So the thing is, of course, if you're in a recession, if business is going down, if companies are cutting funds, cutting people, new projects are also going to be cut. So there are still going to be new projects to be done, to work at, but it's going to be lower. I think it's going to be lower. That's what I know from my history working at a big company. When the money gets tight, new things are going to be put off a half a year or a year. So yeah, might be a problem. Do you think Talent or SSIS is better in general? These are all two. I think especially Talent also is widely used. So these are all good tools. SSIS is very traditional. I haven't worked with it, but whenever we talk about older tech, older platforms, and you look into that, that's most likely where SSIS is coming in. Hopefully I don't get in trouble with SSIS people now, but yeah. Is data modeling important as a data engineer? Yes, absolutely. Super important because the source where the data is coming from will always be a lot different than the destination where you have to write it to, because the use cases are different, right? The use case in the source might be a production system, and the use case in the destination might be a reporting system. So the data needs to be modeled is going to be modeled in different ways, and that's where you have to come in as an engineer. And that's why I was talking about the analytics engineer also earlier. I think that's where engineers need to make that more steps, get more into the modeling at the destination, and so on. Some days ago, I saw a job offer for data engineer, and among the requirements, there was the knowledge of Scala, Python, and JavaScript. Scala, JavaScript. So the thing is, okay, again, Scala, why is Scala there? Scala most likely is only there because this company is running Spark and they have scripts, Spark script in Scala, and that's why they need it. Most likely. JavaScript might be for, I think you can create APIs in JavaScript, so might be something for API creation, I'm guessing. So, but I have no, for instance, I have no idea about JavaScript. I never got in contact with it. Would be interesting, actually. I be able to create front ends would be super interesting to me, but never had the chance, never had someone who can teach it to me. So yeah, so it makes sense that they have it, most likely Scala because of Python, of Spark because they have scripts in Scala and they develop in Scala, and JavaScript for APIs, I'm guessing. Is it interesting for data engineer to learn about data science and machine learning? I mean, is it a great asset, and are companies looking for those kind of profiles? Can help, absolutely, as an engineer as well. For me, it was never interesting. I'm not good at math. I never were interested. It was always something that I put off, that it's absolutely not my thing. I know a very good data scientist. One of my buddies is for me the best data scientist I know. It was always interesting to talk to him, to understand what he's doing, but actually the doing. But if you're interested in that, why not take a course? Maybe not and look into it. Companies are looking for these profiles, maybe startups. But most likely startups are going to do it the other way around. They're going to hire a scientist who can do engineering, because the outcome, the analytics outcome, is more important for them. And so the scientist is going to start and fumble around and build some kind of a minimum viable product. Yeah. I mean, they're paying to learn Scala and JavaScript. Yeah. Which cloud would you suggest? I'm not going to read that further. AWS or Azure, it really doesn't matter. No, I'm going to read that further. Both have unique features. Yes, absolutely. Which is not treating, but which is now, I'm guessing, trending, and which is more priority. So generally, when you look into what's out there on the market, AWS is the most used one. That's where people are. That's what people are doing. But it's not as easy to say only go for AWS. Did you have a data engineering interview Q&A? No. I'm right now preparing something for interviews, and basically an interview guide, a guide to becoming a data engineer. From the application to, I should call this from application to getting hired or something for my academy. From application to getting hired. That's a good title, or at least the beginning of that. I'm going to record that soon. And what was I thinking about? And I'm going to add stuff for that. The thing with Q&As or interview questions is always difficult, because it's always going to be specific to the job you're applying for. Because yes, they might ask general questions, but where it's very important for people is that you can solve the problems they have with the tools they have. And so it's very difficult. There is, yeah, especially for technical, it's very difficult. What's the best IAC setup and where could you get more information? Matt, what's IAC? Wow. Do you teach Snowflake? Yes. I have Snowflake in my academy, same as Databricks, because these are the important things. Same as something on AWS, something on Azure, something on Google, because these are the important things you should learn. And Snowflake is, I think that training is 2 hours or something, 2 hours long, 1.5 hours, and it's Snowflake is really nice to use. And once you will see it's super easy. But it's not just engineering. It's not just about one tool. That's why I have so much stuff in my academy. You need to learn also the other stuff around and how to do projects with it and so on. So, what job market is US or any other countries for data engineering? What do you mean? I don't know what you mean. Just join, please ignore if already answered. What's the impact of layoff? Yeah, we were talking about that, Mas. You can look that up. Most likely I'm going to add jump marks again to this, but I don't know when. so I'm Mas, I'm using these cards here whenever I answer a question. So just scroll after it, just scroll through it, you're going to find it. What's the career growth of a data engineer? Well, I'm not sure what you mean. You can become a senior data engineer or a principal data engineer or an architect. I would say architects are usually a bit above engineers. That's the growth that you can take. Take more responsibilities, lead teams. That's actually the cool part. I enjoyed that a lot, having my team. Now I'm working alone with a few people that are working part-time for me. But back then, having a big team, and that was a lot of fun. I actually loved it. Is it good path to become a data engineer? To become a data engineer, to become a few years later a data scientist? I don't like that. Okay, these things, these types of thinking, or this thinking that I'm going to start as an engineer and then become a scientist, these are two very different things. And if you want to become a data scientist at the end, I would go for a data scientist right away. Learn it with an online course, teach it to yourself, get internships or whatever, do Kaggle competitions or stuff like that. Follow that end goal of becoming a data scientist and not just start with engineers, because you think it's a good entry, because it's a very difficult job and very different than as a scientist. Although people seem to think it's super easy to be an engineer. I see more jobs coming for ML ops. Is it a good news for data engineers? Absolutely is it a good thing for engineers. So what's the plan for 2023 in the academy? It will be super interesting if we'll be a staff with TensorFlow, MLflow. No, not right now. It might be interesting. I'm actually going to write that down. TensorFlow, MLflow. But for now, ML ops is not something I'm going to get into. The ops sector, however, is very important. And there is actually something coming, a course coming, that is where we do the ops for a natural language processing model, where we update the model and we deploy it with the CI/CD pipeline and so on. But yeah, for now, I don't see this in the academy. Let's see what the year brings. I think I have right now planned for half a year. Let's see what the second half brings. What's a good BI tool from your perspective, especially in terms of configurability? That is the big thing, right? So I'm not that deep into BI tools. The general advice I would give, if you want something simple and you're on GCP, try Looker Studio, formerly Data Studio. It's super easy, super quick, and so on. If you're going more in the traditional way, look at Power BI or at Tableau. I think these two are still the gold standard. Power BI, Tableau. So the super configurable, reputable, or very mature. So yeah. Do you have any course for Azure data engineering? Yeah, we have. Christian was teaching that. We have. How's that working? Where you set up an API with API gateway, then you have Event Hub, and I think then we were using cloud, using functions and Cosmos DB. Basically, we have a whole pipeline that you can do where you can stream data in. Yeah. Okay. Infrastructure as a code, IAC. Okay. I think this is something to look into. This is something to get better at. Also for me, infrastructure as code. I don't have that much experience with it, but for spinning up stuff and setting up things, that's something to look into. And I would actually look into that. Let me also write that down. Infrastructure as code. That's something. That's actually something interesting. Although what I like a lot right now is the large, infrastructure as code also includes setting up software as a service solutions like Kinesis on AWS and so on. So yeah. Will tools, Daniel says, will tools like Apache Arrow, ClickHouse, DuckDB revolutionize data engineering world? We'll see. We will see. Only time can tell. They enable single machine to do big computation. Yeah. The thing is always when data gets big and you want to get away from the machine thought that you set up machines, set up instances. I don't know. Is only Python enough for data engineers, or should we be proficient in other programming languages as well? Python is a great start. And if you only know Python, you can become a good engineer. You should understand how to use SQL, if you count SQL as a language. It's always the thing. Some people say SQL is not a language, but yeah. I'm a back-end and data engineer. Should I focus on one field or combining them is better? What do your companies prefer to hire? I mean, back-end knowledge is, I don't know exactly what you're doing with back-end. and with data engineering, what you mean by that. But having somebody, if you're thinking about the traditional backend engineer role, where you set up databases and maintain databases, for instance, and be responsible for systems, that's always super valuable. And especially if, what we said before, for companies that start new projects that need somebody to build everything, that is very, very valuable. Yeah. So last question here, and then I need to go because it's already 5:30, and I think my wife needs help. She's a bit sick, and we need to cook for the kids because the kids are going to go hungry, and I'm also going hungry. So, MBA, I think is Master of Business Administration, right? In data science, no, MBA in data science, or Master of Science. I have no idea. I don't know what you mean. If you join my academy, will be easy for non-IT engineers. If you have no computer science background, it's not easy. It will take you a long time, so it's not super easy. If you want to learn more about that, and I have Q&As and everything, look at learndataengineering.com. That's my academy. I'm trying to put everything I have learned in there, everything that I did, everything that is right now important. It's really not that expensive, and here it's for getting your first job, switching to data engineering, or that's for me a very important point, upskilling yourself. So if you're an engineer, get there, learn new tools, upskill yourself, get in touch with the community. Or if you're a scientist who needs engineering, that's something. And yeah, check out, these are the things that you're going to learn, that you're going to do. How I'm teaching. I'm basically teaching like this, having myself on the screen at all time. You get free mentoring with 24/7 access to our Discord server. I'm going to be in there helping people, helping you. We're going to do live office hours, which the next office hour will be tomorrow. Tomorrow, 4 p.m. Europe time, so 10 Eastern US, and what's that? 10, 9, 8, 7, 7 West, East time, no, West time. And you can also go in here, and here you can check out the full curriculum, all the courses that I have in there, all the trainings, and you can also explore them further. So we were talking about Snowflake earlier. Here's Snowflake. That's actually, I released that in December. Here's everything that you're going to learn. And that's a video, an introduction of what you will learn. And here are a few examples of the stuff. And you can also check out the full curriculum that you find there. So explore this. You can explore every topic that I teach, everything that is important for engineers. I'm going to add a lot of stuff in the coming months. As I said, now it's coming how did I call this? From job application to getting hired course or training. Jamal, can you please do more architecture reviews? I'm struggling with that because I have a lot of them, but they're very, very long. So maybe the 15-minute ones or something. I'm going to look into it. Jamal. All right, everybody. What Python topics? Go to my academy, look what I teach in the academy, then it's already a good start. I just showed you where each topic, where you can explore that. So thanks for being here. A lot of people were here today. A lot of amazing questions, and I hope this really helped you. I'm going to try to do this every day. Tomorrow, maybe earlier, because tomorrow at 4 is my is the office hours for the academy students, where we do live, like a Zoom call on Discord. If you have something, now let me show you something. Do me a favor. If you have stuff you want me to look at, and last time I reviewed a video and we could live do architecture reviews, what I want you to do is, in the link of this, is in the link of this my Discord? In the comments here, or in the description, go to the Discord. And you can also find that Discord here on the main page of Learn Data Engineering. If you go down here, Discord server, you can join the Discord server here. And that's the free part of the Discord server. Right now, there are 24, 50, 60, almost 70 people online. Here is a channel that's called Links for Andreas. I renamed this before our stream. Links for Andreas. Here you can drop in stuff that I should review. You want me to review. So go on the Discord, drop in here the stuff that you want me to review, and in the next stream, we're going to review that. So Jamal, if you want me to do an architecture review on something, drop that in there, and I'm going to do a review on that, a live review. We're going to go through that together. Okay. So everybody, again, thank you very much for joining this. I hope this really helped you. We're going to do this more often. I'm always saying this, I know, but I'm trying to do this very often because I feel like this really helps people. If you're on YouTube watching this, hit the like button and add a comment below, because this really helps the algorithm. And ask me something if you want. And or if you have some idea that I missed, or some, let me know what you think. On YouTube, if you're on LinkedIn, quickly go over to YouTube and hit the like button on this. Okay. Thanks everybody. Have a great one. Bye.